Have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on inside your Alexa or ChatGPT? We tend to see AI as just a tool, right? But what if it's something more? What if it's actually a mirror? And a pretty strange one at that, one that's showing us something profound and honestly a little startling about ourselves. This quote right here is the heart of what we're going to unpack. See, old school mirrors, they just showed you your face. But these new ones, these algorithmic mirrors, they reflect our collective mind. They learn from all our data, our language, our hidden patterns, and then they show us the statistical shape of our own intelligence. It's kind of like when the first humans saw their reflection in a pool of water, and they were left wondering, is that really me? So to really get a handle on this, let's jump into a story that's basically happening in homes all over the world right now. It's a story that ties these ancient myths to some very, very modern anxieties. Okay, so picture this. Two sisters, Jasmine and Maya. They both use AI all the time. But what they ask it, well, that reveals both the incredible promise and the hidden danger of these new mirrors we've built. So first up, we have Jasmine. She's 29, she's practical, and she uses AI like a super-powered consultant. She asks for advice, and Alexa, after crunching mountains of data on startup culture and what to wear, gives her a genuinely helpful, statistically sound answer. This is the mirror as an amazing, powerful tool. No question. But then you have her 14-year-old sister, Maya. Later that night, she's scrolling through social media, and she asks her phone something much, much deeper. It's a vulnerable question. See, she's not asking for data. She's asking for validation. And this is where the mirror gets really complicated. Because we built it to be accurate, not necessarily to be kind. And Maya's question, it just clicks something into place, doesn't it? That magic mirror from Snow White, that all-knowing, truth-telling object of pure fantasy? Yeah, we actually went and built it. And it's sitting right there in our pockets. So what can this old story possibly teach us about the technology we've just unleashed on ourselves? Well, it turns out the Brothers Grimm basically wrote a prophecy, a weirdly accurate one, about the psychological risks of our new creation. The Evil Queen's famous line, it's not just about vanity. Not really. It's about seeking external validation for her own worth, for her own power. She is literally outsourcing her self-esteem to an object, to an algorithm. Does that sound at all familiar? And it's incredible how perfectly the fairy tale maps onto modern AI. First, it knows things you don't. It's seen billions more data points than any human ever could. Second, it tells uncomfortable truths. AI is designed to optimize for accuracy, not for our feelings. And third, and this is the really dangerous part, we become dependent on it. Just like the Queen, we risk getting so hooked on its judgment that we stop trusting our own. And this is the absolute key. The biggest danger isn't that we'll get a buggy AI that makes mistakes. No. The real fear is an AI that becomes so statistically correct that we stop trusting our own intuition, our own experience, our own humanity, whenever our gut tells us something different from what the algorithm says. So that trust, that dependency on the mirror's answer, it comes from its incredible power. So let's pull back the curtain a little bit and look at the how. What is the actual math that makes this mirror tick? Well, it all boils down to a fundamental problem that every single living thing has to solve. I want you to imagine you're this wild beast. You're thirsty, but you know a lion could be hiding in the tall grass. You can't be 100% sure. So what do? Well, you have to make a prediction based on incomplete evidence. A smell on the wind, the sudden silence of the birds. This is it. This is probabilistic judgment under uncertainty, and it's the absolute core of all intelligence, whether it's natural or artificial. And there's actually a mathematical formula for this exact process. It was discovered by a minister named Thomas Bayes, way back in the 1700s. It's called Bayesian reasoning, and at its heart, it's just a simple, formal way to rationally change your mind. You start with a belief, you get some new evidence, and you update your belief. That's it. So the wildebeest's gut feeling, its prior belief, is maybe there's a 10% chance of a lion. But then it gets new evidence. It catches a faint scent. After running that quick mental calculation, its updated belief, its posterior, jumps to 40%. It's still not certain, but it's a whole lot more cautious. Our brains do this constantly without us even realizing it, and it's the exact same logic that powers AI. But, and this is a huge but, this method has a massive limitation. It's perfectly captured in that ancient parable of the blind men and the elephant. AI is blind. It touches billions and billions of pieces of data, tiny fragments of the truth. And from that, it builds a model of the world. But it has never, ever seen the whole elephant. It infers a shape, and sometimes it's really, really confident and completely wrong because it only ever touched the tail. So where does this limitation really show itself? Well, let's look at a simple party game. It's a challenge where pure mathematical intelligence just completely falls apart, and a whole different kind of thinking wins the day. The game is called Werewolf. Now, if you've played it, you know it's got nothing to do with crunching numbers. It's a game of pure social dynamics. You have to read people, build alliances, figure out who's lying, and even strategically lie yourself for the good of your team. It's basically a perfect little microcosm of complex human interaction. And right here, the difference is just crystal clear. AI is incredible at spotting patterns and calculating probabilities. But humans, we excel at something totally different. We can model what other people are thinking. That's called theory of mind. We get strategic deception, and we can read all those tiny emotional cues that give the whole game away. This quote from a real game says it all. A player named Sophie correctly figured out that her friend Luca was a werewolf. How? Not because of data. It was because of their shared history. She knew him. She knew that he gets anxious when he's innocent, but he's calm when he's guilty because he's got a story ready. An AI could never know that. It doesn't have the context, the relationship, the lived experience. And that really brings us to the core of it. For all of its unbelievable power, the AI mirror we've built is still missing huge parts of the picture. It reflects our patterns, sure, but it doesn't reflect the full depth of our experience. Our advantage, our edge, really lies in 3 areas. There's historical context, knowing someone for 5 years. There's embodied observation, actually being there, noticing a tiny shift in someone's breathing. And empathetic modeling, that ability to feel what another person might be feeling. These aren't just data points. This is the very fabric of human social intelligence. Which, of course, leads to a final, pretty mind-bending question. We discovered these algorithms, like Bayesian reasoning, by studying how our brains work. But evolution discovered them long, long before we did. So, are they the only way intelligence can happen? Is learning itself just a mathematical law of the universe, something that will inevitably pop up out of matter and energy if you just give it enough time? The poet Rilke once wrote, "I live my life in widening circles. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it." And that beautifully captures the essence of all intelligence, both ours and the machines. It's this constant process of reaching, of learning, of updating our beliefs. The AI we've built is just the latest, widest circle yet. And as we stand here gazing into this new mirror, the most important question isn't what it will become, but what it's going to show us about ourselves.